are going, you need to know exactly where you are going, right? So what's the other thing? How you get there. Fine. So this is our assessment of where we are now. Before, we actually had imagined that when I have all these things, this is what I'm going to do, right? So we have a general picture of where we want to go, right? So now we need to know where we are. And since we're talking mindset now, this question is not about how much money do you have in your bank account. That's not the question. The question really is, what is your relationship with money? What relationship do you have with money? Is it fulfilling? You know? Is it a fulfilling relationship? Everybody spends money, right? If you don't spend, maybe you can be a courier for money as well. Can you help me give it to so-and-so person? Yeah? So that means everybody has something to do with money, right? Okay. So what is our relationship with money? Is it fulfilling? What's it like? I don't mind giving us a few, maybe like a minute or so to just reflect on this. Because really it's about reflection. It's not an exam question that has an answer like, you know, oh, this is it and it's wrong or it's right. There is no right or wrong answer. It's really about us and our persons, because we remember we are the ones that will account for every single thing Allah has provided us with. So what is your relationship with money? What I shared with you was something I had, you know, many years down the line. It was a very uncomfortable relationship. It was something I looked at with anxiety. Something I looked at with, you know, something I didn't really want to engage with money. Money was just something that, okay, I needed, yeah, it was necessary, yes. But I didn't want to engage with it. I didn't want to actively engage in money with money because I didn't feel good with money. I didn't feel good with money. So I had money, I didn't have money, I didn't have money, I didn't feel good. Money wasn't something that I liked. So obviously, it's not something that would serve. If we are looking at the fact that money is actually a tool to get to Jannah, then that kind of relationship is not one that will serve. Or will it serve? It wouldn't. So let's think about it. What is it? How is it fulfilling, the relationship we have with money? Okay, so while you are having this, you know, this thought process, think about, you know, look at these questions as well. What is money to you really? You know? And remember, it's not an exam. What is money to you? Okay. Okay. So who else wants to tell us, what is money to you? Pardon? To make you feel secure. MashaAllah. Okay, I heard the store of value as well. You said? Is that one for? Should I come and hear it? Something you used to enjoy your life. I like all these, your very powerful. Yeah, it's good. Okay, so, yes? A means to, is a means to an end. Okay. To take care of unforeseen circumstances. Okay, so who else wants to share? What's money to you? Who wants to share? Power. Confidence. Money gives you power, it gives you confidence. Let me not use my own word. To meet up with all the responsibilities. Okay. Money helps you. Okay. Money helps you feel secure. It helps you meet, you know, whatever needs you want, you have and all that. Okay. You know, one thing now is that nothing means anything except the meaning you give it. Nothing means anything except the meaning that you give it. So, the next question is just like the first one I asked initially. And what's your relationship with money? Is it empowering you? Is it serving you? Does it serve you? I shared mine. It obviously wasn't one of service. The one I had before anyway. What kind of conversation do you have with money? You might wonder, can I be having conversation with money? But yes, we do. Remember that in our heads, is our head ever silent? Quiet? It never is. There are always those voices in our heads, right? And we do know that most times there are two voices, right? Isn't it? Good. So what kind of conversation do we have with money? There's this metaphor that I usually use about two storekeepers, right? We have two women that have shops. They're actually basically in the same streets, in the markets. They've got their shops, designed in the same way, very, very similar ways. They sell basically the same thing and all that. And then you've got one of them that, as she's waking up, when she gets up in the morning, she's going to the store and she's like, I hope I sell today. And she just goes that things are just not really being so good. All by herself. She's not talking to anybody. In fact, she's not even saying any words. It's just in her head. She's just saying these things in her head to herself. And it's like, she's going out that way, right? And then the second one gets up in the morning and is like, oh, yeah, Allah, make this day blessed. I really, really am convinced. Even though I didn't make much sales yesterday, I believe that today is going to be a better day. She has that in her mind. That's what she's saying to herself, right? As she goes about her day. By the time she gets to the store, what happens? She's all, energetic, opens the store, sets out things, etc. And then the second storekeeper gets there and is like, she's just doing it. And then, you can already see that her physiology, of course, will be like not energetic, gloomy and all that. And here comes me, a customer that is walking by their shops, and I see both of them outside the store. Whose store do you think I would likely go into? Because she's already attracting me by the energy she's exuding. I can see somebody, putting together wares, out and all that. And then there's this other one that is just, probably has a scowl on her face. So the thing is that the conversation that goes on in our head, does it make any difference? How much difference does it make? It is the difference. So what conversation do you have with money? What do you have? I'm not saying, remember, you don't have to share your answers with me. It's not an exam. I said it earlier, inshallah, that I want this thing to be transformation for each person. Examine your own relationship with money. Is it the thing that was, Kai, I've just received this salary. I need to just money. I need to make sure that I hold this thing on very well so that at least before next month I won't be, struggling and all that. Or is it that, oh yeah, Allah, I've gotten this money and alhamdulillah, that means I'm able to send those school fees for that orphan I wanted to, alhamdulillah. Well, I know I might struggle in the month, but at least I'll have done that. What conversation do you have with money? What is that conversation you have with money? It is the difference. Of course, we know that, yes, our risk is different. But then, who really knows how different it is except the one that gives it? In the sense that we do not know what is coming to us tomorrow. So, using this comparison that I have of this storekeeper that has this negative language in her head and the one that has, the positive and empowering language in her head, let's assume that their risk is the same. Who is having a better life? The one who has the positive vibes. She's acknowledging, yes, that, okay, she didn't make sales the previous day, but it's not stopping what she's looking to. The fact that she trusts in Allah and the fact that she's going to still make effort because she wants to still get what she's out for. And the other person is already, she has already finished her case. She's not even hoping, you know. It's already like you've already made up your mind that you will not get. You won't get. Of course, Allah is generous and He will still give you. But then you're holding things back. Just by that action, she lost the customer. And that is what we do in our daily lives. The language in here is the difference. So these questions are actually for us to be honest with ourselves. To be very honest with ourselves. And as I told you, I'm on a journey as well myself. I am on a journey. I'm not there yet. And we should remember again that we are not in competition with anybody except ourselves. We are in competition with the previous version of ourselves. And that's all. We want to be better than our past. That's it. That's who we are competing with. So being able to analyze our current situation is what will be our stepping stone to do something better. It's really about what happens here. That is the game changer. It is the game changer.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري وأحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. I'm very pleased with this lecture, and I draw from lessons I have learned from seminars and workshops I've attended regarding mindset changing. More recently is the one I attended on NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. That really opened my mind, and just like you concluded, most of us are in conflict with what we were before and now. And in trying to resolve that, you brought the issue of mindset changing. This is very key. I'm happy my brother used a very heavy word. Cognitive engineering, did I get it? Restructuring. Cognitive restructuring. This has to do with the lot of communication she talked about. What is going on? What are we thinking about in our head? What is our thinking regarding money? I was trying to draw from the list we made during our last presentation, but I couldn't get it when she said, what is our belief about money? What actually comes to my mind is most of us believe that money is the root of all evil. It's a very common saying, but I tried to, because we listed up to 10, but I can't remember them now. But what comes to mind is we believe that money is the root of all evil. And this is how the person presented, or he exemplified that. I saw your slide, emotional, significant experience. What is happening in our society today, you see people cutting heads, plugging organs, and all of that for rituals. If our children see this, and the news attached to those activity is that they are using it to go and get riches. Hey, I don't want money. Hey, the same money the ritual gets, the same money you that in business will get legitimately. But now money that you think now is, I don't want money. That will give the child significant emotional experience. It's there. So this thing communicates in your head as you grow up. It communicates, and it's there. So now that you want to restructure, just like he's saying, with the past, we just sit down in this kind of seminar, listen to this and we are done. No, we are not done. It involves a lot of, I attended this thing 3 months ago. Up to today, I'm still trying to resolve some issues. And so there's a radio program. I don't, immediately after Subui, I rush home to listen to it. Nigerian Info. Those guys are doing great things there. Great things there. It is not Christian inclined. It is, they are teaching you principles of life. You know, so what I can say, maybe I can just go through all this thing. The Amir mentioned insecurity, that because we are insecure with our wealth, sometimes we cannot even spend. Sometimes these resources need to be channeled from people who have more to people who have businesses that work. And so, when a platform, actually have a platform, when a business is screened through SWOT analysis, maybe at that point, it's money that you need. You don't need money to start a business. You need idea. That idea must be properly screened. I engaged a brother from MICA platform this morning, and when we discussed, he was actually anxious. He need money. We discussed about Ramadan. But when I engaged him today, I noticed he does not even have a platform to engage funds. You know? So part of the thing the resource person mentioned, insecurity, patterning. How have we patterned our life all this while? It's something, some of us, myself, I'm struggling to come out of it. Now I've lost so many networks. And so when he was talking about scarcity and abundance mentality, that is a great project. Some of us exhibit majority of what is in the scarcity column. So how do we migrate? It's a big project.
So here we are, anyway, on the quest, you know, to become a better version of ourselves. So now, the issue about financial freedom, which is really supposed to be the major thing we're talking about today. Can anyone now give me just one statement to say that if you can resolve these, as in fact, I think I just did one word, or is it 2 words? If you can resolve this thing, you'll be able to get on that road to financial freedom. Anyone? Yes, ma'am? Change your mindset. That's just it. Mindset. It's mindset. But as our brother has said, it's not just about, it's not like flipping a switch. Sometimes there might be a little bit of work that we'll do into it. So inside in the second session, please, if you all still have the sheets you wrote on, I'd like them to be submitted because we're going to use it in the second, inshallah, in the second session. So do you have any questions? It's more likely to be comments, contributions. Okay.
Actually, it's the comments. Most of the time, you listen to talks like this, even on the radio, on the TV, financial freedom, all of this. Now, of course, you gain a lot from it. What about implementing it? That is the issue I want us to go away with. Now, as individuals, people who have different reasons why they cannot implement most of the things that we have learned here today. But as a group, do we have any reason why we cannot implement it? Now, what just occurred to me is there was a brother at the University of Ilorin Teaching Hospital, even though a medical doctor, but was very vast in financial issues. And they trusted him so much within the group, okay, and he was investing on people's behalf, and they were getting returns. So if there's anybody like that within MICA, I think we should make use of that. If not, let's look outside and get people that can help. There are some of us, even though we earn salary, you still have like 1,000 or 2,000 that you don't even know what to do with it. But if you find people that can help you, okay, that will go a long way. So that's my idea.
Assalamu alaikum. The brother said something about practical. So what I want to talk is more on practical. Using myself as an example. I've always had this belief that I'm a civil servant. I go to work, I earn my salary, waiting for when the government will increase salary and other things like that. Normal, these things, satisfied with the little you have and all that, and be contented. But then along the line, maybe with different lectures you listen to, they have this belief that all these ones are just theory. But one day just say, okay, why don't you try it? Why always call it theory? And from there, okay, I first started the one, okay, let me start doing buying and selling. That one was a problem because in the office, people will buy things, they will not pay. And they even be telling you that, don't you know they've not paid salary? That one was another issue. So I was discouraged again. Later on, we had a lot of program on organic and other stuff and so on. I just kept, I don't talk, I just be listening to all those WhatsApp group before, let me join it. Later I said, come, why don't you try this? And I put it into prayer. That's how I started with all these beds and everything. But that was another problem again. But because I'd already removed that mindset of this one, I will succeed, no matter what happened. At the beginning, you know the problem with when you are talking of livestock. Their life does not depend on it. It's Allah. Because these are things that natural disaster can cause any. The first set, of course, alhamdulillah, it was successful. The second set, lost almost the whole this thing. The third set, but what I found out was that immediately when I buy those things and I lose that second set, all I did was that I opened the book, I was doing my record. I just closed, lost. I've closed that page. I opened. I went on to get another one. I didn't sit down and start feeling bad on the loss I had there. But most of the people are feeling bad on that one. Before you know, I didn't even remember that there was any loss. But when you keep on referring back to that money I lost, you will be able to move on. And that's how I continue. It doesn't mean that long run you are not losing things, but when you believe that you are out to do this and you're going to make it, I know that there's nothing, there must be obstacles on the road, you will succeed. So that mindset of, even when you have the determination should be there. And then see money as, even if you're a rich person, tomorrow you can lose everything at once. And once it happens, do your prayer, get up and move on. Although even now at times, if I get up in the morning, if I want to go and check my bed, I have to do I'll make sure I pray and everything. I psych myself that I should get there, none of them should be dead or something. But if it happens, once I close that book, I find out if I get to the office the next day, I see people ask, please, do you have this bed? Do you have this? I sell something. Why? Because I've already closed that means I find out that the day I make a loss, that's the day I will see maybe up to 5 or 6 people that want to buy my product, because I've already closed that chapter and decided to open a new chapter. So we need to have that mindset. I always have the belief that even when there's a loss, get up and start all over again.
I think our takeaway should be our attitude to life. Some of us see this like, just like I said before, if you are too old to make it, your mindset is the fixed, I will call it fixed now. Fixed mindset is, I cannot make it again. Then the societal influence. I think we need to get out of it. Trust Allah, just like he said. Then take risk. We are still afraid of taking risk. We are still thinking that if she can do it and she fails, who am I that cannot fail? I always say it. We admire Dangote. If you all sit down to hear his stories, we don't like the bad part of it. So continue taking risk. Then give room for mistakes and don't look at society. The society we are always like negative. We have this kind of negative societies that sometimes you need to leave that place in order to get well. Then you hold on to your belief. Trust yourself. You. It's not about arrogance or you come first. And just like you said, you are going to account. So trust yourself. Trust Allah, trust yourself. Believe in yourself. Then connect well. Sometimes we don't have that very good connection. And they said I should connect. And let me connect. Who are you connecting to? That's another thing. And you have to be knowledgeable. If you are not knowledgeable, you just plunge into it. I pray one will not drown. Assalamu alaikum.
My question is on the scarcity and abundance mentality. If I exhibit part of scarcity, part of, how do I reconcile that in terms of building my personality? That is a question. Yes.
The thing about mindset, just as we have identified, is that it's a journey. It's a journey. And whatever combination we have, we know will be a starting point. Understand? And we know that what we want to do is to improve or to change to be one that is predominantly abundant. So the thing now is to find out, okay, what tools, how can I do it? And then to start the journey of doing it. It won't just happen. But of course, Allah can make it just happen. But of course, how will it just happen? You first have to desire it. ask Allah, make dua for it, and then whatever effort we need to make effort for it. But it's definitely possible, but there is a way to go about it. The thing about the mindset is that there are some that are just, we say maybe just things that just became part of us in a very simple fashion. Maybe like, things we heard so many times as we were growing up. Maybe we heard it without, not with any negativity. We just heard it. Money doesn't go on trees, whatever, all those things, and it becomes part of it. But there's some that happen due to negative, in quotes, experiences. It could be that you kept hearing something, maybe like for someone that grew up in a family that maybe the parents are always fighting over money. Definitely the person might have something negative to do with money and it might affect the person. So there are some experiences that because they came with a lot of negativity attached to it, or they came with maybe a kind of trauma. Maybe there was some trauma that was experienced when that thing happened, that experience happened, that event happened. When the subconscious mind wants to give meaning to this experience or this event, it usually does so without processing it. Like that example I gave of somebody that saw in the community, maybe that was somebody that saw someone in the community that is rich, and they now found maybe things that were not nice, maybe like all these things, witchcraft, whatever related to in the person's house, and then of course the whole community is going, this person, da, da, da. What if that child actually saw what was being brought out? Maybe all the skulls and whatever. That would be a very negative experience for the child. And how will the child process that kind of experience? Most people like, see, don't talk about that thing, he's gone and all that. The child already has internalized this negative experience. So for one to be able to overcome this, one actually needs to process it. As an adult, you can actually process it and say that, well, we know that it's not everybody that is like that. This is just a random thing. And you think about it and then you are gone. But as a child cannot do that process. So it's likely that that experience will now become a significant part of the child's perception relating to money or wealth or whatever. So we have some of these things about that we learned while growing up that can very easily be changed. Like for instance, the thing about, you cannot make money and be rich. You can very easily, you cannot be rich and be spiritual, or you cannot be rich and be a good Muslim. Then you already have evidence from the Sahaba that is not true. It's very easy. You can very easily sit down and work that out with your reasoning. So the ones that are going to take a bit more work are those that are in the subconscious, like this kind of experience I mentioned that is there in the unconscious, that the person might not even know is there. So those are the ones that might take a bit of time, and in trying to resolve it, sometimes you might actually need to work with a therapist if you noticed that you have that kind of issue. Sometimes when you work on maybe your belief system and you say that, see, I don't know why. Maybe you've identified some of these beliefs. Inshallah, we're going to go through an exercise in the second when we come back on our beliefs. So if, for instance, you find out one that, I have figured this thing out logically. I know it's not true, I've done it, but still, maybe after some time, you find out that you still have issues with it. You might want to talk to someone that has the skills to be able to, make you really look at it and maybe think through it really to find out what it is and where the root source is. So for instance, he mentioned NLP. NLP is actually a body of knowledge that also equips whoever is certified in it with some skills in therapy to be able to help somebody go through that kind of, that kind of timeline thing, such that you can now go back and say that, okay, it's true. I remember so and so person said so and so thing, and I did see this and that. Okay, maybe that is why I now have this issue. Like that was something that I experienced with myself. That's something I experienced with myself. That I was able to find out that it was because of something that happened when I was a childhood, when I was a child rather, that I had that discomfort and anxiety around money, and I was able to figure it out. So in that issue of therapy, for that reason, I'm actually certified to do that. So we also had a brother that talked about what do we do after now? From now on. Yes, it's not about just talking about it. It's also about being consistent with what we are learning and actually implementing what we're learning so that we can actually see the change. And it's something that I'm sure the is going to be able to talk about and see whatever plans. Because I do learn that this month is actually about, the theme is all about money, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm sure something will be done in relationship to that. But is that my hand for the? So I hope that was able to help with what you said.
Comment or contribution is you've taken the brother here suggested about support we can get from, channeling resources from. That sister talked about mistakes that we do. You know, sometimes if we go into this business in alliance or in connection, it reduces the pains that we suffer most time if we go through a loss. You know, you share it with some people and all of that. But to cap it is, just like she's recommending to Amir, can we have a mentorship platform such that businesses that will arise from this kind of training or session can be monitored through a mentorship platform in MICA, that you can measure progress? It's my suggestion, actually.
Remember, our beliefs are ourselves. It's about us. Don't think about, my brother is the same, my mother is the same. You, what you hold true, a belief that you hold true that you know does not serve you. What we're going to do is, when you've identified this belief, ask yourself one question. One question, just one. Is it true? That belief you've identified, is it true? Is it true? Okay, so what I'd like now is that if you've all done it, can I see a hand up? I've identified a belief and I've asked myself the question, is it true? And I've given myself an answer. You don't need to share it. I need to say a show of hands so that I can move on. We have less people that have done it. Okay? Identified a belief. Okay, thank you, sir. So I need to see more hands up. Okay, so I think we have more people that have done it. Is this mic still working? Okay, good. So the question, is it true? Is it true? You've given an answer, right? Do I have anyone that has an answer? Yes, it is true. Anybody? The belief you have, the answer you got when you asked yourself, is it true? It is true. Wow. Okay. Do you have evidence that it is true? You have evidence that it is true. Evidence from where? From yourself or from others? Okay. So who wants to share so that we can make it quicker? Because right now we don't have that much time. Otherwise, I wouldn't have needed anyone to share. So who is willing to share? What that? Okay, now who do I pick? Pick somebody. Yeah, you can open it. Who should I pick? So I won't do Ojoro. Pick somebody. Because I didn't see who went first, actually. Remember, the thing was, pick a belief that is not serving you. Very important. Okay, so have you picked somebody? Okay. So can you tell us of that belief, the belief you are working with?
I believe people easily. That is, when you approach me and you tell me a story or you tell me anything, I easily get,
okay.
Get believing.
Okay, so can you put it in a statement, please? Just when we said money is the root of all evils, or you cannot be rich and be a good Muslim, that is what I want. That statement that you hold true, that is not serving you, that has to do with money. Yes.
Okay. I have a problem. Somebody comes to me and said he or she has a problem. And I believe easily like that.
Okay, so how is it not serving you?
It turns out that not everybody has told me the truth.
Okay, good. So what does that make you? What is that belief that you have? So are you saying that the belief is that people
take advantage of that?
People take advantage.
Yes.
So would you now say that your belief is that people take advantage of those who have money? Is that the belief?
No, of those people who have the mind to help, the mindset to help people.
Yeah, but you can't help. It's money we are going to use to help, isn't it?
Okay.
Or rather, what are we going to use to
fine.
help?
Let's.
Because even if we are using our time to help,
it.
that time has, that time you could, if you use that time to work,
Yes.
you know how much you're going to
Yes,
earn.
let's say
Okay,
money.
so
Let's
is
put
that
as
it?
Money, yes.
So we'd say that belief is that people take advantage of those who have money.
Yeah.
So that is the belief that you have that doesn't serve you.
Yes.
Okay, and I asked the question, is it true? Remember, people is general. That's a generic statement.
Okay.
People take advantage of those who have money. So is it true?
In the context of people, then it's not true.
Good. So can you apply it to every other belief that you have? Okay, yes.
If I now change his question to say people take advantage of me, me being, instead of people that have money or people that are willing to share, but me being the sort of person that is ready to share.
Yes.
Okay? And I ask myself whether that is true or not. It's true.
That's
Because I've experienced that.
Very good.
That's so how will that work?
Exactly what I'm trying to show. You know, when I talked about how we resolve this, there's one we resolve those that are based on generic beliefs like this, because that is what we want to. That belief. If it's it would take a few more steps to resolve it. But if it's a generic belief, like those examples I gave, then we can actually resolve it quicker. Are we together? So in your own instance, is it the generic one or?
It's me. You
think
asked
it's
me the
you?
question. It's me, not
So no, what I mean is that remember that I said the examples I gave were generic. They were generic. It wasn't about ourselves, our persons. It was a generic belief. You know where we have all kinds of beliefs and we can categorize them. So the one we can deal with right now is that is generic. The one that is not will need a bit more work. Let's say we were doing this, we had the full session to do this, then we could actually even get to that. So right now, can we have, so for those for those that have that answer, this is likely to be the issue, right? It's about you. Aha, great. So that is a good one, because that means that you've come to the awareness that you actually even have that belief. So that is a great step ahead. So you might want to find one that is a bit generic and then we can work on it, right? Let me just stretch it a bit. For those that have this I issue, right? That you think it's you. And you believe you have evidence for that. Do you have evidence contrary to that? Do you? Do you have any evidence at all contrary to that?
As in situations where it is
That
not.
didn't hold true.
Yes.
Great. Do you? Do you, madam? Do you, Haja? Pardon? Okay. We might need to come back to that. Okay, so you have evidence. You want to say something? Contrary to that.
Yes.
That makes it not true, not hold true. Fine. So if you had that kind of evidence, then why do you believe that? You have evidence that is true and evidence that is not true. Why do you believe it holds true?
When
Okay.
you look at my personality, for example, right? And the first person tried it, the second person tried it, the third person tried it. And you start to see later that it's not exactly what it was meant to be. The contrary evidence is that very few amongst the numbers, okay, fine, were right or genuine, and majority are not.
Okay.
You get
Okay,
now? So
good.
that's why it now makes me like,
So you choose what you believe. You have a choice to believe that it is true
yeah,
or to believe that it is not true. You have evidence that is sometimes true, evidence that is not true sometimes. What a
I
belief
know
is
facts, numbers.
so you choose what you believe. So you could either choose that it is not true, to believe that it is not true.
Yes,
You could choose to believe that it is not true.
that would take a lot of work.
Aha, effort. Anyway, the thing about this one is that, just as I've said, it's not something we can just flip. You can see where the conversation is taking us, sir. It's not something that we can just flip. We need to do a little bit of work on it. Is that allowed, Hiram?
Yeah.
So if let's, pardon? Yes? Yeah, that's why I said that there's a lot of effort. So that's why I said there has to be work. And that effort is really in here. The effort is actually in here. Exactly. So that's why I said that it's not something we can just finish, and we need space to be able to finish that work. So if you go back to the generic ones, I'm still going to go back to that. I can't be a Muslim and be religious. You know that is not true. And you can back it up with the evidence. You look for the evidence yourself. You find it in the Sahabas. So that's obviously, it shows that it's not true. Yes?
And again, you can't make money without compromising our religious. Yes, like that's one. You haven't. No, it's not like if you look at it very well, it can be true. And it can not be true.
You know, when we say a statement is true, when we say it is true, that means the other side of it is not. Remember, nothing means anything except the meaning that you give it. Nothing means anything except the meaning that you give it. So if you see something like this all the time, whatever the meaning you give it is what it is. Oh, okay, fine. I didn't know that was where you're going. Okay, fine. So, so the next thing was evidence. So for the generic statements, even that statement of money is raised for all even all that, looking at the Sahabas, we already have evidence contrary to that. So that means that statement is not true. You understand, it's already knocked it off, it's not true. And then what you now do next is that, when there is a void, what you are telling yourself now is that I don't believe this anymore, so I'm taking it out of my mind. But when you have a void, you have to fill the void deliberately. Otherwise, something else almost equal to you fill it up. So what do you now choose to fill that void? So you now don't believe that belief that you had. What do you want to believe instead? So can I have anybody that has somewhat that is not I related that we can use? So I can use it as an example. I don't want to use the one I've been using. Anyone? No, I don't want to use that. I want to use something from someone. Anyone wants to share. The one that is not I kind of believe that is I rooted. It's not easy to make money. Perfect. I love that one. That's also one that is very, very, very common. We feel like you have to struggle, you have to do this and that before you make money. So for that reason, you're like, you're already like cringy because you're like, I can't be struggling and all that. So what can you use? But is it true? It is a function of what you think hard work is. It is your perception about hard work that makes that a disempowering belief. Because hard work doesn't necessarily have to be difficult, not fun. Richest people, they do, the rich people that are legit rich actually do things they love to do. And they have fun while at it. And for me, that's the kind of lifestyle I want. So work for me is not hard. In fact, it's difficult for me to actually draw a line between my work life and my personal life as well, because I enjoy doing the work. So it's actually a function of your perception about hard work. So let's flip that around now. What can you say? Flip it around. Now you know that is a function of that hard work, that you feel, hard work is hard work. So we need to flip it around. So if I were going to flip that around, is that I need to make deliberate effort to make the kind of money that I want to make. That deliberate effort, you've not put anything negative. that may be negative. Because the word hard itself is actually negative. It can be negative. This is like, even the way you call it hard. So you can decide that, oh, I need to make a lot of deliberate efforts to make money. You know, that's a way to flip it. So what you need is to change that statement such that it is positive. You know, it's easier on the mind. And when you're thinking of work, you're not thinking of, and when you're thinking of money, you're not thinking of hard work. You're rather thinking of, yes, I need to make a deliberate effort. You know, when you're thinking deliberate effort, you are not thinking in a negative context. So that's what you need to do with that, your belief. You now need to change the words that I used to describe it so that it can replace it. It can replace it. So, you know, that I love making efforts so that I can make more money. You actually need to write that down so that whenever that belief comes or whenever something happens and you're thinking, Kai, that Yoruba one you said, you need to go and look for the Yoruba one to counterbalance it. Because Yoruba can be very strong. So you need to look for. So what you do is that when you find that, you write it somewhere, you write it in different places so that whenever it pops up, it can, you know, help you replace it and then you can switch. You can just switch it. And then of course, sometimes it's just an affirmation that you need to, you know, to just work on that belief. So these are just those that are the generic ones that you can very easily do now, and then whenever it pops up, it's like, no, it's not that, it's this. So that's basically the exercise. So inshallah, anyone more than that is something that one has to actually, you know, take like, it needs a bit more time to work on. So Jazakumullah khairan for, you know, the honor of being able to pass this on to you. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.